I didn't even put on shoes. I stood there on the deck in nothing but boxers and a coffee mug in hand, watching two HOA guys drag my 26-foot pontoon boat away with a tow cable, like they were conducting some federal sting. One of them shouted, "We warned you," while the ropes screeched against the cleats. Behind them on the dock stood a woman in an HOA polo, arms folded like she was the captain of Law and Order. What none of them realized what would turn this little power trip into a full-blown disaster was that I owned the lake. Not the dock, not a share, the whole damn lake. It started a few days earlier when I found a perfume-drenched envelope shoved under my front door. Inside, a violation notice. Your vessel has been deemed non-compliant with HOA aesthetic guidelines. Remove it within 48 hours. Signed by Cynthia Beecham, HOA president. Her signature looked like it was underlined in rage. I figured it was a rookie mistake. My boat was anchored 20 feet off my private dock, in the lake I paid property taxes on. Surely this was a misunderstanding. That illusion shattered the next day when Cynthia herself strutted up my porch in a neon windbreaker, armed with a clipboard and a sense of divine purpose. "You've received the notice, yes?" she asked, tapping her pen like it was a gavel. "Yeah," I said, wrench in one hand, mid-repair on my smoker. "I thought it was a mistake. The boat's on my lake." She scoffed. "The lake is a shared amenity and must remain visually harmonious. Your vessel is an eyesore." "It's beige," I replied. "Beige isn't in the approved palette," she snapped. "And it's obstructing my sunrise yoga view." I told her flat out, I owned the lake. Not metaphorically, literally. Deed, title, rights bought it outright when a failing golf resort went belly up. Cynthia blinked like I'd told her I owned the moon. "Then we'll see how you feel when it's towed," she huffed. I laughed, not mockingly, just in disbelief. Surely this was bluff and bluster. But Cynthia wasn't bluffing. That's how I ended up barefoot, watching them steal my property. "You're already breaking the law," I called out. One of them yelled back, "We're acting under HOA authority." I turned, grabbed the deed from my safe, and returned holding the document like a sword. "This entire lake is private property. You're trespassing." One of the men skimmed the paperwork and turned to Cynthia. Ma'am? This says he owns the lake." Her face drained. She grabbed the papers, flipped through them like a blackjack dealer, and tossed them back. "This doesn't override our bylaws." "Want a bet?" I said. "I'll have the sheriff here in 15. They untied the boat in silence and slinked away, leaving only the smell of wet rope and desperation. That afternoon, a violation sticker appeared on my mailbox. The next day, another on my driveway. One was even slapped onto a duck that wandered near my dock. Cynthia had labeled a duck. That's when I called Ellie. She's a retired Coast Guard captain turned fishing charter operator who believes beer and justice are best served cold. When I told her the story, she nearly fell off her chair laughing. "They tried to tow your boat off your own lake. These people insane." "Absolutely," I said. "Then it's time," she said. "We mobilize." The next morning, Cynthia escalated. A barge floated near my dock with workers carrying clipboards, measuring my boat like it was a toxic spill. She stood at the edge wearing an orange vest that read, "Lakefront Enforcement Officer." I waved. "What now?" "You're in violation of the HOA Lakefront Beautification Initiative," she barked. "Your boat lacks conformity with neighborhood standards." One worker leaned toward her. She hissed, waved him off. They had no idea they were trespassing. I took photos. Lots of them. That night, our war council convened. Ellie brought beer. Raj, a hydrology professor, brought legal maps and water rights printouts. Linda, a former HOA lawyer turned real estate specialist, brought a Bluetooth earpiece, whiskey, and a deep hatred for bureaucratic nonsense. As Cynthia continued her one-woman crusade outside, we sat in my kitchen assembling a legal nuke. Every action the HOA took was baseless, every regulation a fraud. Then came the drone. Cynthia launched it from across the street, circling my boat like a fly. "Surveillance drone," Ellie muttered. "Cute." Linda didn't flinch. She grabbed a high-pressure water sprayer, aimed, and blasted it midair. The drone sputtered, flipped, and crashed into the lake. Cynthia screamed. "That's a federal offense." "Then call the feds," Linda shrugged. "And I'll report your illegal aerial surveillance." Later that week, Cynthia posted laminated signs declaring HOA jurisdiction over lake views. One even showed a cartoon of my boat with devil horns. But the neighborhood had turned. Selfies with the sign flooded social media. Hashtags like Pontoon Rebellion and Cynthia Sunk trended locally. But not everyone was amused. A few pearl-clutching residents demanded new HOA rules. Cynthia called for an emergency vote banning anchoring within 50 feet of shore, requiring aesthetic approval for boats and matching paint schemes. I wasn't allowed to vote because I wasn't part of the HOA, but I wasn't letting them rewrite rules for a lake they didn't own. So I dressed up, gathered my team, and walked into that clubhouse during the vote. Cynthia was mid-rant, calling my boat a visual threat. She saw me and tried to block it. "This is a private meeting. Not here to vote," I said. "Just here to witness." When the moment was right, I stood and held up the laminated deed. "I own the lake. Every square inch. Your rules don't apply." Silence. Someone whispered. Did she know that before printing the flyers? Cynthia's face turned ash gray. She tried one more time. Slipped a fake permit under my door, complete with a Canva watermark and her initials. Raj verified it was fake. We added it to the legal file. Then we filed our complaint: harassment, unlawful enforcement, defamation, and attempted property seizure. 2 days later, a man in a suit served Cynthia papers. Her face morphed through all 5 stages of grief on the porch. That week, 3 board members quit. The HOA scrambled to save face. Cynthia went radio silent. But just when I thought she'd finally let go, she installed a sign at the lake. Unauthorized boats will be towed. HOA patrol. And a floating rope barrier with dollar store buoys. I laughed so hard I wheezed. Ellie paddled over and planted a pirate flag in the middle of it. I threw a freedom float party with boats, jet skis, music, and flamingo floats. Cynthia watched from her yard, arms crossed, looking like a statue of bitterness. The kicker? Raj discovered Cynthia's koi pond extended 10 feet into my lake parcel. We served her a boundary violation notice. She refused to remove it. So we filed a lien for annual lease or forced removal. Weeks later, I watched from my dock as a crew drained the pond. Cynthia didn't look at me. I didn't need her to. The lake was calm again. People smiled. The fake rules vanished. No more laminated signs, no more drones. Neighbors who once supported her left thank you notes and pies. A kid drew a picture that said, "Captain Max saves the lake." I framed it. I proposed a new idea: an independent lake committee. No enforcement, just community. Volunteers signed up. Cleanup days, fish tracking, photo sharing. The lake belonged to us again. Cynthia mailed me one last letter. No apology. Just, "I hope you're satisfied." I folded it, stuck it in a bottle, and tossed it into the water. The lake returned it 2 days later. I let it drift away again, this time for good. And then came the call. The county wanted me on a board investigating HOA abuse. Meth guy in boxers with a coffee cup. I said yes. That spring, I hosted a lake relaunch. No grand speech. Just music, grilled food, laughter, and floating lanterns. One drifted out a little longer than the rest. I like to think it carried a wish. Let it stay this way. And it did.